The first thing I want to ask you, Frank Caliendo, is what have you enjoyed most? Doing stand up, doing Mad TV, doing the football stops for the Fox NFL Sunday? I mean, these are vastly different jobs, but which one do you think is more fun?
I would say the stand-up is because there's a different set of rules at the NFL and Fox and Mad TV too, and you never knew what the final product was going to be at either one of them. Things could get cut at a bunch of different levels. So stand-up, I'm basically doing what I want to do the way I want to do it, and I'm my own self-editor at that point, and I think I do a pretty good job of that. So I do a very clean show and that type of stuff too. So. I watch. I do try not to be a gunslinger with the words and that type of stuff. So I think I do a pretty good job of that, and that's why I think I enjoy it the most doing stand up because it's my own thing.
Well, I definitely see you as a comedian, a stand-up comedian who happens to do impressions and other acting gigs. But I think for a lot of America, they saw you doing their impressions first, and they're not familiar with you as a stand-up.
Well, I weave the impressions in a lot of like most of the stand-up actually. So it's like it's not doing scenarios like an old school Rich Little kind of thing where I come on stage in character wearing a costume or something like that. Even it's more of making an observation. So example. Al Pacino. When you talk about acting and how I've learned to act is you're curious. Well, Pacino is always curious to the point where he doesn't understand simple things. Like somebody could flip a light switch. He goes, "Wait a second! You flip a switch over there, and a light comes on over here. Whoa, that's sorcery!" And the fact that he yells for no reason. So then you do a type of fish out of water casting, cast him as a librarian just to see what he'd do. Everybody's like, shh, like, where's the B section? Yeah, so that type of stuff, the juxtaposition, but for a reason, I like that type of stuff as opposed to just the what if Al Pacino was working at McDonald's. I think it would go something like this. So it's a little bit more thought to it, and that's how I've always approached it.
Yeah, see, I can't do the full Al Pacino. I can do Al Pacino being Scarface, which I think a lot of people can do. But the trick for anyone doing voices, and I've done voices in radio over the years, but it's all in the tongue placement. And I think you've even explained that in some of your videos, how when you move your tongue like up into the back and then move it to the front, you can turn from like Kermit the Frog into John C. Reilly or something to that effect.
Yeah, there can be some tongue placement. It's also tightening of the throat. So Kermit the Frog is up here. Hey, old Kermit the Frog here with more of a nasal thing. And if you bring in the back of the throat, you can tighten it up. And it's that Fozzie Bear, waka, waka, waka. So if you use those two types of things, if you go from Kermit the Frog and bring it down here, it becomes John C. Reilly. Did you
there
touch
it is.
my drum set? And then you add some air, becomes Mark Ruffalo. I see this as an absolute win. Add a little more depth to it, and it becomes Paul Giamatti. I believe this is one of the craziest things I've ever heard. Now, you tighten it up again a little bit, and it can become Seth Rogen. Oh, I had no idea I was even doing this. And then add the laugh, which is basically just Bert from Bert and Ernie slowed down. Bert's like, and then, so they're similar.
Right. See, I think like if you do Kermit the Frog with the country accent, you accidentally sound like Luke Bryan. There's a whole bunch of those. I don't want to try and do voices next to Frank Caliendo because I'll stink and embarrass myself. You're at the Addison Improv tonight. Now, I was wondering if you were going to come on the show because I assumed you were sold out. But here's what they did. They jacked up the prices, and you were all sold out except for one table. There's one table of 4 where you have.
I made them change that. I saw that there was a table of 8, and you had to buy all 8. I'm like, wait.
Someone bought that.
Nice. You got to split. No, I made them split it up.
So okay.
They got rid of that. I was like, let the people buy the individual tickets. I was like, that's kind of crazy. That's not as crazy as I'm going to be in another city later next week, and they were charging a suite for like $800 for like 10 people or something, like 8 people. You could have 8 to 10 people. And I was like, I called my agent. I'm like, did we agree to this? What's an $800 set of tickets? That's crazy. So I had them move that too. But
hey, Frank, you might just want to accept that you're a really popular guy and you can command such high amounts because you have such a big and affluent audience.
They were still available. I don't think I was that popular.
Oh, okay.
But I know your signal travels pretty far. There's, I think, 4 tickets left for tonight if they're not gone already.
I'm looking at it right now. There's 4. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's, other than that, I'm in Houston the rest of the weekend, Saturday and Sunday at the Houston Improv, which is owned by the same people, so I can do this. ImprovTX.com for either Dallas or, which is Addison, or the Houston Improv all this weekend. And even I will be back kind of in the area, but it's 3 hours away from Dallas proper. I'm going to be in Lawton, Oklahoma at Apache Casino May 22nd as well. If you want to look at tickets for that, frankonstage.com. Even easier than see Alien Do for my last name. It's frankonstage.com. You can get all the tickets for Addison, Houston, or even Apache Casino out there in Oklahoma.
Real quick, Frank, you've managed to stay politically neutral while so many other comedians have just had to open their mouth and let the world know. Is that something you do on purpose? How important is that to you that you're not a political figure?
Well, I don't want to be. First of all, I always assume that I have the assumption that I might not be correct on an issue. So that's why I kind of walk the middle of it all the time. I don't seem to be. I always like to see how things play out. I don't like to jump to conclusions on anything. So, even with like the stock market today and that type of stuff, I look at that and go, okay, this looks really, really bad. Let it play out a little bit, and then I can get mad in 6 months from now if it's still that bad. So I look at stuff like that and see, but sometimes I think, change isn't always easy either way, whether it's to the left or right. And I like to watch it kind of, find its way. And I believe, we can, if people work together, which sometimes means fighting it out and sometimes means just compromise, but that's how I am. I've always been that way, and I've never dug my heels into anything. But I like to see how in this world we live in, it seems to be that everybody jumps to a conclusion immediately on every single thing in the world. I'm like, well, you're going to change your mind 100 times in the next 100 days then. So we'll see. And I never wanted to be somebody who told you how to think. I'd rather listen to what you have to say, maybe have a friendly disagreement, and then let it play out. And we'll see. I'm wrong a lot. So I tend to think I'm going to be wrong. So I hope not, but it happens a lot of times. So that's why I kind of do it that way.
Well,
and I just thought, people hate being told what to think, I think.
Well, it's hard to be mad at a guy who takes a neutral stance like that. But you've seen so many guys, whether it's like a Bill Burr or a Ricky Gervais or a Russell Brand or even like a Jim Gaffigan, get swept up into politics. And I feel like you lose half your audience when you do that. So go see Frank Caliendo if you want to be one of the last 4 people to get a ticket. He's going to be at the Improv tonight at 7:30. Thank you very much, Frank.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. Thank you.